Yo, this is Steady Mobbin Podcast. This is episode 5. It'll be here in the description. We got Slava P in the building.
What's going on, everybody?
Make some noise. Hit that.
The camera's over there tonight. We brought you through because, obviously, not only are you the Rick Ross of Canada, you were literally the gatekeeper also in Canada.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that.
You were literally a gatekeeper. You let people come through. You open the doors for.
I helped people who were already doing things.
For sure.
Yeah.
So
I didn't make any careers.
So let's jump right into that. What was the what are you looking for in terms of helping people? Like what are the parameters that you have?
You mean currently or back when I had that job?
Back then when you had the juice. Okay.
Literally, the first person I wrote about was Roni.
Okay.
And this is back when Roni was really heavily influenced by K-Coke. I think he was a 17-year-old rapper from the time. And we profiled him right before he opened up for Jeezy. It was Sound Academy back then. I guess it's called Rebel now. Mm-hmm. And that was the first local Toronto rapper that I really got a chance to speak to. But I didn't get my start by interviewing Toronto rappers. I got my start by reviewing Toronto concerts. That was really how I started coming up. And negativity spreads a lot faster. So I wrote some mean concert reviews, and that let me start getting some buzz, which let me get on some other blogs, which eventually led to me doing this random tweet that got me put on Childish Gambino's radar because I was defending him online because people were saying he was a corny rapper, and I said some of the Childish Gambino songs might be corny, but Donald Glover is a genius.
Absolutely.
His camp reached out and they go, "Thank you for saying what you said." And I'm like, "Listen, I kind of have an in at Vice. I was a freelancer at the time." Mm-hmm. And I go, "If you guys ever want to sit down, let's make it happen." They go, "Listen, we're in Toronto tonight."
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was a huge just destiny moment where there's no chance that was ever going to happen ever again. And I went and I spent 3 hours with him in a hotel room up in Yorkville. He wasn't doing any press. And right after the interview, or around after the interview, but before the interview came out, he wrote those. People were wondering if they were suicide letters, where he wrote out "I don't want to do this anymore" about the show that he was in, Community.
Got it.
So he was in a very important phase of his career, and it just so happened that I had the only interview with him around that time. So that interview went crazy, and that helped me get my eventual job at Noisy.
Wow.
Good shout out for that, yo.
Oh. When the stars align, god damn it.
Right?
So what was the question? What were you was it his first album or second album when he was?
So this was right before the internet. So Camp had already come out. And one of the reasons he was feeling the way he was because Camp famously got a 1.4 on Pitchfork.
Wow.
Pitchfork is the holy grail of music review to some people. Mm-hmm. Yeah, back then it still has some clout now. But they're definitely not talking about 60% homo. So really, how relevant are they?
That's a group, guys. That's a group, right?
No, it's a guy. I think.
One guy
is
60% homo.
We're going to learn about him.
I think it's mostly AI music.
I feel like the Jamaicans
I
love
feel
his music.
like it is.
You know what?
Fire for
that, no!
The Jamaicans will love
I'm
his
getting
music.
PTSD to being in jail.
Pardon?
I'm getting PTSD to being in jail and not being able to say anything without people saying fire.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh, what are you saying?
Can I have a banana? That's fire. Can I have some peanut butter? That's fire.
Jamaicans are some of the most homophobic people on the face of the planet. I'm just going to say.
And it's hard because on one of the nights in jail, you get meatballs for dinner.
No, officer, I am not eating that.
I'ma still eat it.
Meat circles.
Them a cut it up or something. They're not eating it
He
whole.
still ate it though, right?
I ate everybody's meatballs.
Was everybody looking at you wild?
For eating meatballs?
Yeah, everyone's looking at you
I ate
wild.
everybody's
You ate
meatballs.
everybody's meatballs?
First of all, yeah.
That's how you survived.
Slava, you're gross, guy.
That's how you survived.
The funny thing is they had to call them
meatballs, man.
They had to call them meat circles, which I think is not even true because they're spheres, right? So they're calling them meat circles. It's not even etymologically correct to call it a circle. It's a sphere, right? But banana's yellow fruit, peanut butter is brown spread, jam is red spread. I'm trying to think of other things. Yeah.
So where would I'm not
homophobia?
So Childish Gambino, the jail. Yeah. I think
hold on.
Stuff in the middle there.
Yeah, well, we're gonna go back and forth. we're gonna go back and forth. Before the juice. I mean, after the juice, rather. Where did you stay? Where was your jail? Where did you stay for jail? I've not even had to ask you a question.
Okay.
Where was your jail?
You know what?
Like what penitentiary did you stay on?
Time out. Before we even get to that, I think the people who are not familiar with you,
Yeah.
Needs to know the back.
we need the backstory.
As into
So
how you
let's
get
start.
there.
Let's start from Vice, right? Okay, this is gonna be a messy interview, but I'm gonna try my best to kind
Good luck editing.
corral
You're
it back.
so crazy.
No, because people are like, go to jail, like they don't know
Yeah,
why
they
he's in
don't
jail
understand what's going on.
for the backstory. Okay, you've told the story a million times.
Probably 100 times. I heard it on the fucking radio once.
Yeah, just start from the freaking Johnny Depp blow scene. You're carrying the suitcase, like you know.
Well, okay, let me try to speed it up as fast as we
one of those
can.
moments.
Yo, people are really gonna go back now and actually try to see.
Okay, so the Childish Gambino interview happens. I get my job at Vice, and over the course of 2 years, I burn a lot of bridges in the city, writing about people that don't like being written about.
Simon Cowell, yes, you're the Simon Cowell of
That's a very polite way of putting it. So after I've burned all those bridges, I am still keeping one eye on New York because that's always been my goal. I don't want to live in Canada. There's nothing here for me. I want to get out and I want to use Vice to get a job in America so I can live in America. So I can't write about the two main cultural exports of the city because I've written some things that they didn't agree with in the past. So those doors are closed to me.
Yeah.
So I started having to get creative. And it just so happens, again, by destiny, that I meet these individuals who are running an operation that takes cocaine from South America and brings it to Australia, going through Las Vegas using Canadian mules.
Oh, I'm trying to process
Straight
that.
face.
Wow.
So you've been convicted by now.
Yeah.
There's there's no double jeopardy in Canada as long as you're in
I
Canadian
wrote a
soil.
book about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I know you wrote the book about it, but please tell the people on that camera, who were they? Like, who were the people who came up to you?
No.
Oh,
Okay.
So hold on. So you're not going to share that?
Well, listen, I have no problem talking about anybody who's talked about me.
Sure.
But to bring people in who, my whole thing with this story is I'm all about personal responsibility.
Totally.
People who made the decision to do something should stand by that.
You see what you just witnessed? For the people who criticize Vlad TV, right? For artists that incriminate themselves. You saw what he did there?
he said
My co-host
No.
asked him a question, and he said,
No.
straight no with a
No.
straight
Don't
face,
blame
everything.
Vlad. Blame the interviewee. Continue.
Yeah, no.
Okay. So before the no,
I love this shit.
so yeah, you said okay. So you started off with that,
Yeah.
and then you paused right there.
So that being what?
You said you with the mules. You
Oh,
ended
well,
with
that's how
mules.
the operation works, right? So the operation was described to me by an individual. Me, being me at the time, working where I worked, being young, my initial thing upon hearing this was, well, I want to go. I want to take this trip. This sounds fun. You get a free trip to Las Vegas in Australia, and you get $20,000 upon returning.
If you make it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's I volunteered. Another individual that I was friends with volunteered, and we each took the trips. So 2 sets of people took 2 sets of trips. Believe me when I tell you that this is a foolproof trip. It just turned out not to be.
I had to argue there's no such thing as... No.
Well, you will always meet fools that will prove you wrong.
Yeah.
So nothing is truly foolproof.
So what I want to dive into is like the mental state, right? Because you're saying, yeah, I want to go to Australia. It seems fun. But you know what you're doing and you know there's like consequence to that.
Sure. Well, that's the thing is I've always been someone who is not necessarily risk averse, right? Like I'm not gonna say I get off on feeling that kind of like tension and danger,
That's the vibe I'm getting.
but that's definitely a little bit of a thrill seeker mentality, especially when I'm in my 20s. Everybody thinks they're untouchable in their 20s.
And you got a good career too. Right?
Not necessarily. I'm making $35,000 working at Vice.
Please tell them how bad it was.
Oh, really?
I'm actually selling weed on Grindr at night.
On
So-
Grindr, yo.
Yeah, I'm on my grind, bro.
On Grindr, on
Grindr.
What's
Grindr.
Grindr? What's
You don't know
Grindr?
what
What is that? Dating?
Grindr? You don't know what Grindr is?
No.
Yo, give me your phone.
No,
Yo,
whoa,
Mike,
whoa. He don't know what Grindr is.
I don't know what Grindr is.
Grindr's a gay hookup app.
Okay, put my phone back down. Okay. Wow.
Now, here's the thing
Face
about
down, ass up.
So hold on. I'm so confused. See, this is why we need context. How the hell are you selling? What are you selling on Grindr?
weed and a little bit of Molly.
So how do you market that?
It was such a fucking crazy time back then.
Well, that's the thing. I lived in Parkdale because I worked in tech when I was writing these concert reviews. And so I was going to concerts at night, writing reviews at my day job. And then I got this opportunity at Vice. It was a huge downgrade in terms of payment and how much I would be making a year. But I'm thinking I get to be in the scene that I love. And to be honest, at that time in Toronto, 2014, well, I got it in 2012, but 2012 to 2017, that was definitely an era of Toronto. And I got to cover the very important era. This is like post Take Care.
Take care, yeah.
But
I love how we're using Drake as a time marker. But go ahead.
we could also
Makes
use
sense.
the weekend. This is post.
It
This
makes
is.
sense.
I moved into the city, Young and Finch, right when House of Balloons came out, and that was really like my coming of age music for that time in Toronto.
Yes.
Take Care then followed. So we could just follow the same timeline, but the weekend was actually more integral to that time in Toronto. I think. Especially with like the rebranding he did after Kissland, but before Beauty Behind the Madness, where he really embraced that whole like Queen Street camouflage, everyone all black, EXO hoodies, EXO jackets. Yeah.
Wow. This guy's a music man. I want to pick your brain when it comes to the music. Okay, so you're making $35,000 at Vice, right? You're presented with an opportunity. It seems like a fun opportunity for you.
Some phantom investor comes through and is like, yo.
And you have to understand, it's not just the money up front. It's the fact that I can then leverage this for my career to advance it at Vice, because my eventual goal is to go to Brooklyn. And a lot of the Vice articles that I had written that did really well were first-person accounts. I got a Lupe Fiasco tattoo.
You have one right now?
Yeah.
Where?
On my arm. It's a lyric, not like his face or anything. But a lot of the first-person Gonzo articles was what Vice was known for. So I'm thinking I'm going to take this trip. Then a couple months down the line, I'm going to write about taking this trip, because at that point, you're not going to get in trouble for something that you did in another country.
I'm trying to process this. Okay. So what happens next? Like, the opportunities there, like, just take us through the timeline. Like,
so I get
what's
presented with the
process?
opportunity. This other individual that was involved with me, he goes, I go, I come back, and everything kind of starts going wrong after I come back, because immediately after, other people start getting involved in this, and they sign themselves up to do what they had just seen done 2 times prior, right? Because at this point, he's my co-accused. So he had just come back. I had gone. So they have 2 examples of people who had just taken this trip scot-free. And I get into this in other episodes, so there's no real reason going too deep in it. But the way that he took his trip is insane. And if you see the things that happened to him, you think, oh, this is foolproof. And then if you see what happened to me, because I was supposed to be going with a girl at the time, she backed out, so I had to go with another individual who didn't fit the bill of go on a trip with your girlfriend. So
Suspicious.
it was suspicious, and we still made it. So by this point, everybody
It was a black guy, probably.
No.
by this point,
I'm just
everybody.
saying.
Okay. Shots?
Tell me I'm wrong, Slava.
I will not be doing that.
I
Okay,
like
fine.
you. I like you. I like you.
He knows.
Yo, fuck. Yo, let's go back. Let's go back to Vice. Like literally, after you.
What are you reading from there? Is it your notes?
Something.
Let me see that.
Pornhub.
He's on
Pornhub.
Grindr. That's why you got Grindr on your phone.
So when you're at Vice, did you feel like you were the man at one point? Like,
Listen, here's the problem with Vice: is it's a lot of 22-year-olds looking up to 30-year-olds. Because at that time,
but at that time you were a 22-year-old.
At that time, I was a 22-year-old, right? And you don't have any power. All you have is that clout of being able to say, I work for Vice, which in Toronto actually did get you pretty far. And that's why the issue with the story, and as the story was presented, is it was presented as like a story about Vice, but the reality is it was a story about my social life. And those 2 things were so closely connected for not just me, but anybody who worked at that company. Right? Like the people who chose to be in my orbit, whether it was through coming over from time to time or living with me chose to make that decision because they wanted to be close to the Vice editor.
Yeah.
So everybody involved in this story held Vice up to a high enough esteem where they were willing to do something illegal for them.
That's a weird.
So do you feel as if like at some point the Vice could be like, "Hill, like you're defaming us, we could sue you"?
No, because I'm not. Because I don't dislike them or hold them responsible for any of the actions I made. I made the actions I made because I had the motivations in my head. Vice never told me to go do anything illegal. There were times that it was discussed, like, oh, what would a video be like if we like got a gun and we like tracked how the gun came to Canada? And like Vice editors were asking me, because I was the only person that was like outside, how we could possibly go do this. But there was never a mandate from the company to go do anything illegal. That being said, when you see people rise up in the ranks of the company by doing things that are questionable, maybe infiltrating themselves with some white supremacists or some terrorists, to the point where the police are showing up to the Vice office, you're kind of thinking like, I'm rewarded for doing things that are wrong.
So was that the primary driving force for you doing what you did?
You know, it's very easy to say yes in hindsight. I feel like at the time, the money was definitely a big motivator. But there's no time in my life where I ever wanted to make this my primary career, where I'm like, I'm going to become a drug smuggler professionally. This was always something that, an experience that I wanted to collect. It was something that I wanted to go do because I was young and dumb. And then I was thinking, after I go and do this thing, I'll monetize it in some way.
Got it.
And hence you did with your book.
Funny enough, there's actually a bylaw in Ontario that says that you can't profit off the proceeds of crime. So I'm very happy to have written the book, and it was a really good way to spend 9 months in jail, actually not making a penny off of it.
So hold on, where does the money go?
I have a co-author. A guy
He's American.
Yeah, he's American.
And what? And he cuts you a check every 6 months or every 3 months?
First of all, you get paid every year. Second of all, no.
That sucks.
Well, you know.
So when, at one point, did you say to yourself, I knew I fucked up right here? Because everyone has those moments where it's just
what?
like regardless of
when
what
the National
it is,
Post story came out.
that's when you knew.
Yeah, because it was...
Post is like, oh, what the fuck?
Because you know what's crazy is they called me the night before, and I'm thinking like, fuck, this is going to be bad, but it's not like they're going to put my face on the fucking cover of the newspaper or anything. And I woke up the next morning.
And boom.
And my
What do they
face
think
was on
they
the
call
cover
you?
of the
Like,
newspaper.
yo,
Exactly what you thought they were gonna do.
but like, what do they call you? What do they? So they called you by your first name? Or?
Yeah, they use Slava P. The problem is the National Post story's evidence was what was said on trial in Australia, right? The people who are on trial in Australia are trying to get the least sentence, the smallest sentence possible. So they're saying a lot of things that may not necessarily be factual. Yeah. Now, I put it in a bind because I'm not charged with anything. So it's not like I can go on Twitter and be like, okay, I may have trafficked some drugs, but, you know, this didn't happen, that didn't happen. There's talk of like some kind of hostage situation being pulled where there's guns pulled on people.
I've read that somewhere.
None of this happened, and he ended up recanting it. But by that point, the media doesn't cover that.
No.
So that was kind of my problem, is the broad strokes of it, Australia, cocaine, Vice, this is true.
Yeah.
But it's the specifics that I would really take issue with, and that's the benefit of writing the book, is I'm able to bring the other side of the story to that.
I feel like there's a huge gap in this story that I'm fucking missing, right?
Me too.
Partly because I'm freaking tipsy. And
Just a tad.
you know, just a tad. And like I'm still trying to like process you actually thinking this was a good idea, because I'm just like, what the fuck?
Yo, but yo,
I don't know, maybe that's
like you're
the
like
black side of
26,
me
27
saying,
at the
like,
time, right?
No, I'm 24, 25 at the time.
Yeah, 24, 25.
I'm
at the
26,
time.
27 when I go on the run to Montreal. I'm 28 when I get arrested. I'm
Okay.
29 when I go to jail. I'm 32 now.
Okay, so
Okay.
you make a trip, you make 20 grand, is it? You made a trip, you made 20 grand. Somebody else made a trip, they made 20 grand.
And he goes back out.
Other people catch wind.
Yeah.
You're supposed to bring a female with you. She says, I
Hell
ain't
no.
going.
At the last minute, so it's not like it was
Last
no, it was-
minute.
Yeah, and then no.
A black guy, I'm alleging,
Okay, my
probably
God.
said, yo, I fell into place, and that raises alarms.
No, what raised again? That trip went fine. I came back no problem. That individual introduced people to it. I introduced people to it, and the co-accused also introduced people to it. The easiest way to think of it is like a pyramid scheme.
It was.
We all went, and then we recruited other people. And the problem was
Too many people involved. Too many
Yeah.
mouths.
Hands in the pot.
You know what honestly is the craziest part about it, and this goes in the book in detail, but this whole thing went south because these guys in Las Vegas refused to take a $15 Uber ride and exchange luggage at the hotel. So they go, let's just exchange luggage at the airport.
You're going to have to break that down for me because I don't
Well, you
travel
should never
much.
exchange luggage with anyone at the airport. That's like
That's
a
a fact.
pretty
Oh,
good
yes,
rule of thumb.
Come on, they
Yes,
have
yes,
cameras
not great.
everywhere.
Yes.
So even if you do have people on the inside, which I'm not alleging we did, the second you exchange luggage at the
That's a
airport,
fact.
the TSA says, I don't care, flag them, check
Yep.
them.
If that bag is left too long and you go and you pick it up, they watch that. That's why half of the time you're in customs, whatever,
Yeah, yeah.
you're in thing. You wonder why. Sometimes they watch you from how you come off the plane, how you interact with the people, how long you take
Makes
to pick
sense.
up your bag.
I watch a lot of movies.
Pay attention
Yeah,
to
yeah,
all
yeah,
of that.
yeah.
That's
That makes
crazy.
sense. And because they didn't want to take a $15 Uber ride.
In Las Vegas, that's right.
Wow.
So, I think maybe before or after, I don't know the year, you got locked up. You wrote a bunch of series of tweets.
That's right. That's so I'd been arrested and I'd pled guilty, but I hadn't been sentenced yet. So in that time, yeah.
So this is after all
After the plea, but before the sentence. All right.
understood. And so here's a series of tweets. Just
Yeah.
the reason I'm reading them out loud, I'd like you to put them in context if you could.
Sure.
All right. So about the cocaine, about all that cocaine, there was no intern funnel program to initiate people into vice. The truth is a little nuanced and a little more interesting than that. Everyone got involved for their own reasons. When I was back then, when I was on the outside looking in, they were all insinuating that you were some Tony Montana dude. You only made like 40 G's.
Right. Well, that's like because you have that clout. This is the other thing is they built me up to this pedestal that I'd never got on, and then they said, "Well, how could he abuse the power from that pedestal?" I was never up on that
You
pedestal.
were never up on that.
It's just you built it up to that because it makes it sound like I have all this power that I'm able to wield around. None of the people that went on the trip were interns.
Yeah.
One person was an intern at one time, not my intern.
And then you go on to saying about the 7 people who gone on the trip.
So 5 people went on the trip, but 7 people will end up doing time for this.
Okay. How's that possible?
Okay, so 9 people went. So me and my co-accused went with someone. I went with someone. Then these 5 people went. That's 9 people total.
Understood.
My co-accused went down. I went down. The people we traveled with did not go down. The 5 people who got caught in Australia went down.
Fuck.
So who does time where? Because
People who get arrested in Canada do time in Canada. The people arrested in Australia do time in Australia. Everybody's home now.
So there's no extradition. There's no extradition
They
treaty
chilling with
between
the
Canada and
Canada.
Australia right now.
So my crime was for conspiracy, which took place in Canada. So there would be no reason to be extradited to Australia.
yeah.
Interesting.
Plus, their whole thing is they want to get rid of people. Like those people got deported back to Canada.
Some of them are home right now, right?
Everybody's home.
Everybody's home now?
Everybody's been home since before I went in. It's just like the media doesn't put those people or those stories
Damn,
out.
son.
They're
So
not
all
like,
those
"Oh,
kids
those
are
people-"
home?
First of all, we're all the same age.
I
we
know,
did
but when I
that
say
shit.
kids, I mean like
Time
whatever.
out. So they didn't do much time then. If they're like out, wait.
I'm not going to say who, like, what a lot of time is, but I'm just going to tell you objectively, everybody was
They
home before
on
I
paper
went
they
in.
were doing like 20 years.
No,
or?
on paper, the
So they
worst
were
they
home
could have
before
done
you
was
went
that.
in.
Yes.
And this happened in 2014.
Yes.
From what I understand, you went in.
So they did
2019.
3 to 4 years, depending on who you're talking about.
Sure.
Some of them did a little less time. Some of them did, but everybody was home by the time I went in.
So Slava was the final boss.
I'm not the last person to go in. My co-accused is still awaiting sentencing.
God damn.
And so you're out on good behavior.
So the way that it works in Canada is at 1/3 of your sentence, you qualify for day parole. And that's what I'm on right now. I'm on day parole. I'm currently serving my sentence.
So do you go back inside?
No.
He doesn't do weekends and all that. He doesn't.
That's
do all
provincial only. I'm a federal inmate.
that. Oh, federal.
So
Okay.
what's day parole? What does that mean? Like, explain that.
It means you have conditions that you have to abide by.
Abide
Like
by
I
in
can't
the daytime.
I can't commit the crimes.
And you got to be home by 10.
Can't be
from
around certain
I don't have a
things.
curfew.
Oh, you don't have a curfew?
No.
Good for you.
And he doesn't.
Do you keep in contact with any of
You're not
the
allowed.
co-accused?
Are you
Oh,
allowed,
I guess
he's
you're not allowed to.
do that.
Okay, don't answer that question.
That's
Sorry,
off the
I had a
head.
Vlad moment. My bad.
That's off the Don't worry.
She's got me. She's got me.
I'm
Yeah,
case
she in the-
manager.
she's in the streets.
yeah.
No, she's a social worker, yo.
Yeah, so I know.
That's what I mean.
What's
She's
it?
in the
For,
streets.
for provincial or federal guys?
for provincial and
Okay.
federal. For
Provincial's
both.
a handful. So you do like probation, not
Yes,
parole.
we deal
Yeah,
with
yeah.
everything in the Roy, all of that type
That's
of stuff.
messy.
Yep. So
You work for John Howard or?
yep, all of
Say a
them,
word, yeah.
Vanier, all those.
Okay. Man, it's
Yes.
like, that's good. You're in that positive society. You could definitely say that about yourself. You're doing more than some author or podcasters. Congratulations.
Big of it. Thank you.
So, looking back, are there any regrets? How do you feel about it? Is it just like a learning lesson for you, or?
It's unfortunate that people have to do time in jail. It's unfortunate because it affects a lot of people, not just the people who are on the inside, but the people who care for those people.
Yeah, the families, friends.
And
yeah.
that's a terrible thing to happen to anybody. But the reality of it is everybody made their decision for a reason. Nobody was forced to do anything that they didn't want to do, myself included. So do I regret what happened? I'm a serial optimist. I really feel like going to jail was a net positive thing for me because it taught me a lot about myself and it helped me meet a lot of people that I otherwise would not have met. And it was embarrassing. I can tell you that. It was an embarrassing experience, but that doesn't mean that I regret it happening.
God damn, this man used jail as a therapy session. Damn.
That's what a
salute
lot
to
of,
you.
but that's what a lot of.
But it
people
makes
do.
sense.
Digital-
You have a lot of
to
time to
reflect.
yourself.
And digital
Big shout out,
detox.
big
That's the
shout
other
out.
thing. No, you're not on your phone anymore.
No, you're not.
That's a really
You're in
big
your
thing.
mind.
Yeah.
What
Well,
jail did you go to? Oh, actually,
so
finish
it's-
what you were going to say.
Yeah, well, it started off Toronto South for the first 2 weeks while you intake, and then you have to go to assessment, which is in Kingston. It's called Joyceville Assessment Unit. Now, I had the, depending on how you want to look at it, fortunate or unfortunate experience of it being during COVID. So I was in JAU for
Yeah,
7
remember,
months.
They can't overpopulate.
That's the good thing about it. Everybody was single bunked.
Yeah.
But the bad thing about it was that something that was supposed to take 3 months took 7 months. So I was in JAU for 7 months. It was whatever. I was working in the kitchen, so it was the best situation to be in, all things considered. But then after that, I went to Beaver Creek in Muskoka, Beaver Creek minimum. That's the other thing I want to stress. I didn't really do time. I went to minimum security prison. I don't want to make it sound like I'm some like hardened criminal. I went to minimum security prison. Everything you're wearing right now, you could be wearing in prison. No hoodies. Yeah. Other than that, you wear your own clothes. You cook your own food. There's a mini golf course.
What's the most fucked up shit you've seen
Yeah.
there?
Look at your face. Yeah.
Pedophiles.
Put it up.
Like fucking.
What do you
like
mean? He just
actual
told us the most fucked
pedophiles.
up. They're golfing in prison, man.
I know.
No, I know. So that's hence my question. I'm
Yeah.
interested to know like what's the most fucked up thing you've seen.
So the worst experience I had in jail was actually living in a house that was known as the Dungeons and Diddlers house because everybody in there was on a sex offense, which was hard enough. But here's the worst part about it. They played Dungeons and Dragons
No.
on the table at night. Dungeons and Dragons, because I see the look on your face. It's an imagination-based board game that is based in role-playing and dice.
Yes. And
So,
The diddlers and the rapists would just play it.
yeah.
moment of silence.
For who?
No, I'm just saying. No, because that's what just
This is where the
happened
Jamaican
just a
comes
while
out.
ago.
Fire for that.
Fire fit that.
Super
Oh my
fish.
god. Oh my god.
Yo, tell me about your experience selling weed on Grindr. How'd that go down? Like,
Bro, it was sick. I provided a good customer service.
So what-
Imagine a bad bitch coming to sell you weed. That's exactly what these guys were getting.
So what? So what? You just be like you just match with a dude or whatever. Match
No,
with a
first
dude.
of all, let me break down how sick Grindr is. Most of these other dating sites, there's a swipe or you got to swipe left, swipe
It's like
right.
Tinder.
No, so this is why Grindr's better. You log on. I'll put it on your phone later. You'll see. It's a grid of dudes. It's like 16 dudes that are. It's just a grid of pictures, right? And you could open any picture and talk to them. And it's all based by location to the point where you see how many meters away they are from you. I'm living in Parkdale at the time on Tyndall Avenue. Bear. Guys.
Actually, you could put it on my phone. I'm joking.
Hell yeah, brother. Let's go. Dudes rock.
This is-
Barstool, here we come.
Yeah.
The first.
face down, ass
Up. That's the way I like to fuck.
You know what? There's such a stigma in jail around doing gay stuff that you're not even able to enjoy it for its full experience. There's this guy named Bruno who would suck you off for $90. Like, he would give you $90 if he could suck you off. And you can't take part in that because someone's going to call you a fish.
Hold on. And man's are
There's a-
getting
Pay to blow somebody.
Hold
But
on.
he was
and
rich
man's-
as fuck, probably.
I know you guys remember Menace to Society. Where
I
nigga was
suck
like,
your
I said for
dick.
$2 a cheeseburger. Niggas are dying for it, dude.
Is homosexuality as pervasive as it is like in American prisons?
No, and that's the worst part about it. Because I was on there and I was trying to get into like new TV shows, right? And it's COVID, so nothing's really on. You know what I got really into watching in jail? RuPaul's Drag Race.
And they all sat around
honey.
watching it.
Nobody wanted to watch it with me.
From season.
Listen, so the UK one, the Lawrence Cheney, that was the one I really got in on it on. And then the next season was like the All-Star season that got impacted by COVID. But I'm watching on the main TV in the main room, and I'm trying to get guys to watch it with me, and nobody wants to. And I'm telling them,
Drag Race
yo,
is the
these
shit.
are athletes.
Yeah.
This is on par with what you'll see in the NBA. Kyle Lowry can't go do the splits. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe he can.
Oh my god!
But-
Out of
Is
everybody.
majority of the jail like Jamaican population? Or?
There's a,
What
so
is-
No, not where he's at. Not where he's at.
So
Up
there
with
are
you.
the
Hold
culture
on.
is just innately Jamaican. So Jamaican, Somalian, Vietnamese, Serbian, these are the
Jamaican,
primary
Somalian. Okay.
Vietnamese and Serbian. Those are like be the primary ethnicities represented in jail. You also have to remember that I was there during COVID, so the numbers are low. Normally it has 250. It's around 170 the time I'm at. And by the way, 170 is not a crazy 170 is not a crazy amount to have in a jail.
No. But the Jamaicans are overrepresented in prison.
They're a loud minority.
Yeah, we gotta do better. What do you want me to say?
Fuck.
It's that wide boy mindset.
And that I should have said
60% homo.
60% homo. So you felt the influence of just like, so even if it comes down even to the words, you can't even say certain words like you said.
Meatballs, bananas, dad's cookies,
Nah, eat
suck
that.
some dick.
Do you feel like that?
Whoa!
Do you
Yeah,
feel
you
like,
can't even say
You
that.
can't even have. You can't even
I
have a hot
thought it was
dog.
a meal.
do you
You
feel
can't have
like
a hot
they're
dog in
doing
front of a
too
person no more.
Do you feel like there was too much?
Glizzy,
like,
what are you
it's
doing?
like,
Glizzy,
I
you can't do that no
understand.
more.
I
Can't
understand
eat
you
the
can't
glizzy.
do the gay stuff, but
You can't
now-
even say
now
come here. Forward? Why can't I just say come here?
They're policing the words now.
Follow.
You see
Policing
these
the words.
Sudbury miners have to tell each other, yo, forward or over here? Because they can't say come because
my
someone 10 cells down will be like, yo, fire.
Yeah.
Fire for that. Yoga flame. Lava splash. Lava splash.
And you know how crazy it is? Because I feel like it's counterproductive, right? Because you know how obsessed with homosexuality you have to be if someone says, come here, and you automatically think gay sex? Am I tripping?
I was on
That's
Grindr. I
wild,
don't even
right.
think about gay shit that much.
No, because you're on the
think
grizzly.
about
You're
what
on the
I'm saying
grizzly.
right now.
How much weed did you sell on Grindr?
A couple pounds. Like it was at the point where I'm shipping it off. Well, the equivalent of shipping it off in weed, because all these guys are just getting because they just want to see me, bro. They just want me to come through and break them off and like we smile.
And you're a
we
tall
flirt.
dude, you're bald. Like,
I wasn't bald at the time.
I'm just saying.
But yeah,
I'm just
yeah,
saying.
yeah. No, you sell.
Bottoms
you sell the
galore,
package.
bottoms
You sell the
galore,
package,
yo.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
Dang,
Yeah.
that is crazy.
So what? So how how was it when you met the first like Supreme client on Grindr?
What do you mean supreme?
So the guy who's buying half a quarter pounds and half a pound.
No,
like Black
nobody's
Mom knows
buying that.
something.
Everybody's getting chipped off to the gram to like a
Oh, you were
quarter
doing
is
that?
the
Okay.
most I was selling. But I would go around Parkdale and Roncesvalles, and these motherfuckers have like nice ass townhouses. They invite me in. They give me a glass of wine. They're trying to fuck. But,
So yeah, but you're like, I got 30s here, 40s here, 50s
yeah,
here.
realistically, that's really all it is. So it kind of worked out in my favor because I would finish Vice and then I would put on whatever music I had to listen to and I would just go do my routes. And because Grindr is location based down to the meter, you can really do a route that doesn't take you beyond like Spadina or whatever, right?
have
'Cause
you had
Gay
an
sex.
overly aggressive customer?
I'm like a big guy, so I don't think anyone would really try to do that.
You haven't opened.
Nobody's tried. Nobody's tried. Like
People
drink cups.
Or come behind you.
Sure, I'm not
come
stupid,
behind
though.
you and just
You mean forward behind me?
yeah,
Come here. Give me
Nobody's
no,
done the Salt Bay to your drink.
They tried it. They tried it.
That's
First of all,
wild.
I'm not
son.
accepting
That's
any drinks
wild.
on the
I don't
premise.
like this guy.
And it's okay. Like,
So-
trust me.
That's
So you
crazy
see-
because
you
of
see-
all the stuff that this podcast could have gone to. I really did not think we were going to be talking about Grindr this much. Right?
No,
I rate that.
No, but have you ever met somebody that's just like,
They would put it out hard on the text, but at the time I was strictly like, I know who's a little bit like friendly, so I'm not really going to be lingering around there. I'll break him off, keep it pushing. And if he's asking to see me for $10 every night, he just wants to see me.
Yeah,
he doesn't want to
absolutely.
like.
Absolutely.
But at the
He
same
doesn't
time,
smoke
that's the
I
biggest
just
profit
wanna see
margin.
you. Like that's scary.
That's the biggest profit margin though, so you can't really say no to that.
How long do you see them for? 40 minutes, an hour?
$10 get you what?
A gram.
Yeah.
Like not even a gram. Like
So you
0.7.
just go and see them and then that's it.
Yeah.
Okay, bonfire upon this conversation.
Weird.
So no, hold on.
Hang on, let me
no,
get
no,
one more.
no, no,
beer.
no.
Let me get a beer. Let me
Bonfire.
get-
No, we have a lot more
Bonfire,
questions.
And you're talking about you want to put it on
This
your
is
phone.
see,
No, listen.
You told a man to put it on your phone.
I'm tipsy.
No, hold on.
You see, that's what you can't do.
This is-
you can't do
This
them
is
things
literally the gorilla of podcasting right now.
I'm tipsy.
Our guest just
Don't
dipped.
stop.
You know what somebody
Grab
told
the
me?
beer.
They-
He's
you
like,
know
"Fuck
what
you
somebody
guys."
told me? They told me that we are the no jumper of Canada.
No way.
You gotta
I swear to
aim
God.
higher. You got to aim higher, guys.
Yeah.
You guys are just steady mobbing again.
Yeah.
So that's it.
I mean, I see it like that, but I mean, no
That's the
jumper.
problem with
I mean,
Canadians. No,
they're
no.
making good money now.
This is the problem.
No, that's-
Canadians will always hold them up to the standard that America has set for us. And that's why we don't really win anything. That's why Toronto rap music right now is nothing.
Thank you. I've been
I
saying
want to touch on that because your knowledge of music seems amazing to me.
Yeah.
As a
I think
fan only. That's the other thing is I'm not
that's
from
the best perspective. Yeah.
because I'm not from anywhere. I can enjoy anything. I don't have to.
Where did you grow up? What neighborhood did you grow up?
So when we moved from Ukraine, we went to Victoria Park
And
off
then
on
Barrie.
Main Street. And
That's hood. That's pretty hood.
He was in Barrie at one point, weren't
No,
you?
but the man,
Let me get to
okay.
it. And then back then, you could buy a house on a credit card. So my mom bought a house in Aurora, and then you could put your deposit down on a credit card. You can't actually buy it on a credit card.
Yeah.
But and then we kept going north because the property value where we were at went up enough that you were able to sell the small house, buy a bigger house, et cetera, et cetera. So we end up in Barrie, and Barrie's where I went to high school. And I always believe that wherever you went to high school, that's where you're really from. And that's how I was able to avoid a lot of problems in jail because people go, "Yo, where are you from?" And I go, "Barrie." And they go, "All right, you're good."
You're cool.
So Barrie is actually, so I went to Aurora. I did middle school in Aurora and then Barrie for high school. And I don't know if you've ever been to Barrie, but it's a different
been to
type
Barrie.
of Canadian. You know, like when I was in Aurora is like Greek and Italian. First of all, obviously like Mark and Victoria Park, you have Black, Asian, Indian, predominant cultures. The farther up north you go, it's like a different type of white. So you go to Aurora, it's Greek and Italian. You go to Barrie, it's fucking Dutch people. Like,
Dutch descendants.
well, like van, whatever,
Yeah, yeah.
a lot of vans,
Yeah, okay.
right? So Barrie was where I really like became a teenager, and that's actually where I discovered Vice because I was online so much. Because my foray into Vice came from 4chan, right? Like I would be on the message boards, and I would click out on a link, and I remember watching the Vice Guide to Liberia, where they went to go buy all those guns.
Are you happy that Vice is bankrupt now?
It doesn't bring me any joy
No.
at all. I feel like the interesting thing to me is not from the perspective of the company, but like the larger trends in the industry and how everybody was scared that pivot to video was going to mean the end of journalism. And people said, no, it's not. And it kind of did mean the end of journalism, but it also gives us stuff like this. And it gives people the ability to create video because that's all people watch.
Yeah.
So nobody reads anymore. I could tell you this. I know how many copies my book sold. So realistically, the only way to really get noticed is to do video, for better or worse.
Have
And
you
it's not
thought
even-
about bringing like your vast knowledge in music to social media? I guess an example of that would be like Anthony Fantano.
I mean, Anthony Fantano has a lane in and of its own. We actually just started a podcast with my two boys who work at Noisy with me.
Plug it.
Yeah, Nersey.com, NERSEY.com. It's me, Trey Smith, and Drew Millard. Go download that shit. But the whole idea of that is like, yeah, listen, Vice crumbled, but you know what the value that Vice brought in the long term was? It wasn't like the IP. It was the ability for people to go there and network with other cool young people. And that was really cool at the time.
Yeah.
And now the three of us are like retired hipsters. So we have a very specific viewpoint on stuff, including music. Trey Smith is actually the person who introduced me to 60% Homo. So that's kind of how I got put on. And now you're a huge fan.
Yeah, I can't wait to meet him.
Well, he's actually right here. Come on out.
When did you what's the craziest thing? Because like I remember those times when like in Toronto when Vice was the coolest shit on earth. And like you go to a Vice party, or somebody's recording a Vice documentary, or somebody's doing something adjacent to Vice. What was the craziest thing you've seen somebody to get put into that sphere?
So it's hard to say what that sphere is. First of all, Rich Kid did an amazing job for us. He went to fucking Nunavut. He went to Winnipeg. We sent this motherfucker everywhere to talk to whatever was popping in that city. And I feel like being able to put people into that vehicle is an invaluable thing. Like you talk about gatekeeping, a lot of times people talk about it like it's a bad thing. But I feel like at that time we were really doing everything we could to put people on. Even the people that we brought on to Vice, you know, my intern went on to become the editor of Noisy Canada after I left. And he made that, he had a part in that Six Rising documentary that had Smoke, had Press, had all those people in it, which is a very valuable look
Smoke.
at that. Exactly. But it had a very specific look at that time in Toronto. So I feel like what Vice and Noisy was able to do was a net positive for society. It's just unfortunate that it has to end in this tragic way.
Yeah. Are you surprised though, or
no? Because like I said, once the pivot to video became the buzzword, it was just a matter of time until it actually came for everybody. It just took a lot longer for Vice.
But they did like really cool documentaries.
They did it. I got onto them through video.
Yeah, they did a documentary on like the garrisons of Jamaica and a few other documentaries.
They have so many documentaries.
Yeah, so
and those are still going to exist. But the thing is, those only get monetized so much. I think the thing that really killed Vice is the fact that everything is clips now. All the videos that you guys love from Vice are an hour long, maybe 45 minutes long. Nobody's watching that shit. People want to watch shit that takes place in a minute and a half on their phone while a Subway Surfer clip plays over top of it.
No,
that's what you guys do with your clips,
no,
right?
Fact.
Look at the reach that your clips get versus your YouTube videos.
That's
because nobody's sitting there and hitting play. But I'll tell you, I'm doing YouTube videos too, and the ones that really resonate with people are the longer ones. So there is definitely a home for longer form content, but it's when you try to split the middle and try to do like 6-7 minute videos. Obviously, there's a lane for those too, right? Like DIY stuff, makeup stuff, that has its own lane. But
so you're saying clips should be like a maximum of like a minute and
30 seconds.
Doesn't Instagram only let you do a reel for a minute 30?
No, they actually extended it.
And, they extended it.
Even TikTok, they extended it to 10 minutes now where people.
But I feel like
up to
a minute, you're pushing it, a minute 30, like your shit better be dope.
Yeah, but
it's nowhere near 45 minutes to an hour, that's for sure. So the Vice guide to Liberia, no one cares. Nobody cares about the setup and like, oh, I'm Shane Smith and I'm hungover and I'm in Liberia and we're about to go. Oh, hang on a second, maybe.
We're doing some.
Wow.
Do you see yourself using your talent for other ventures in the future? Because I know you got the podcast going on.
What's the answers to that? What do you think the answer to that would be?
Yes.
No? I'm just going to do anything. Yeah, listen, at this point, there's certain things that I want to do that are just fun. There's certain things that I want to do that help put the next phase of creatives on in the city. I feel like a young creative in the city should not be looking at recognition from the industry or the establishment. I think there was a stat that came out today that said 25% of all music on Spotify right now is by independent artists.
I love that.
As do I. And I feel like that is really the future. We don't need local media to the point where we need a CTV Etobicoke, we need a CTV Barrie. We just need a guy from Etobicoke who gives a shit about Etobicoke that makes YouTube videos. Yeah. And that's really the future.
Facts.
In the past, you would have these tycoons come up, like the Rupert Murdochs.
Yeah, these corporations.
And he would take all these small medias and he would do a bigger media. And what we're seeing now is that dissolving.
Absolutely.
The downside to that is we may have the means of production settled, but we don't have the means of distribution. You are still beholden to Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, the algorithms. Mm-hmm. So even though you guys can do your own shit and put it out there, your audience is not guaranteed. And you know what really does end up going viral more often than not? Negativity. It's like Lloyd Banks said, okay? Negativity spreads faster. Violence.
Yeah.
Drugs.
Yeah.
All of these things, that's what moves the needle.
Yeah.
So it's great that Lizzo makes positive music. Yeah. But that's not the norm.
Yeah. So that's why we should argue right now. Okay. Yeah, I think you should have a drink.
So
No, but I told you.
No. Listen, let's get into some negativity.
No, but
No.
no. That's,
All right, let's go.
So while
no, seriously.
Let's go.
Go ahead.
I don't need that to be
Let's
negative.
be positive.
No, I don't need that to be negative.
No. Wait, no, I'm just saying, like, it's true. Like, if we were to sit here and talk negativity for 30, 40 minutes, people are going to be entertained
Absolutely.
by that.
Yeah.
You understand what he
So,
means?
so for example, if I said her shoes are whack,
No, not even
you
that.
know what I mean?
You would be
like,
absolutely
these are like
wrong.
real Jordans. You know what I
You
mean?
would be absolutely wrong.
These are the Michael B. Jordans.
These
of
Michael
are
B.
the
Jordan,
like
son.
people would
Oh my God,
eat
you got the
that
Michael B. Jordan
up.
on.
That's all I'm saying.
Listen, these are the Jordan 3s. Okay,
You know what
don't
I
be
mean?
a hater, be a
I'm just giving an
congratulator.
example. You know what I mean?
No, but I'm just saying it's like Drink Champs. He knows, Nori knows what to do. Nori knows I'm gonna bring if he brings the pot, he gets people to come on a show and drink all the time. But he also knows how to balance it. He knows how to talk about family life. He also knows how to talk about the street life. He knows how to combine both of them together, and that's what works. Because he knows from the beginning to the end, you're gonna watch his show because it's entertaining. It's about entertaining your audience. People don't want to sit there and watch you talk about whatever. No, it's boring. It's like CNN. Who wants to sit down and watch CNN all day?
I agree.
You know what I
Unless
think?
you're of a certain age, yeah, you will. But
Or you're waiting for the
we're not
dentist.
going to do that.
Or if you're waiting for the dentist.
See what I mean? That's
It's CP2 for television.
exactly. In every office, you'll go in there, whether it's the doctor office, wherever, dental, you'll see it on CP24.
The benefit of all these
That's
new
it.
channels is that it's not just what you guys do, it's the community you build. Because if two people are fans of one thing and it's a podcast, you pretty much know that they have a lot in common. If two people listen to Nori for 3 hours a week, they at least have 3 hours a week in common.
Exactly.
Whereas, for the most part, everybody kind of like, everybody's cultural diet is segmented. Everybody just has a specific diet that they're on. And some stuff breaks through. And I feel like podcasts are the one thing that helps people bond in a way that, like, musicians don't really do that. Concerts are too expensive to go to now. But podcasts, like live
It's crazy
podcast
how expensive they are right
recordings,
now.
Discords, that type of stuff, like that's where you really build a community. Subreddits.
Are you on TikTok?
No, I don't really.
I feel like you would be amazing on TikTok. Listen to me.
I'm on
Slava.
YouTube.
Yo, the growth for TikTok is crazy, and
It's
I
true.
think you would
Take a
be
clip.
I feel like there's-
amazing on
well-
TikTok.
You ever take
Yeah,
a
your
clip?
voice is
I swear to
perfect.
Just
God.
take a clip.
Your voice is
You're
perfect, by the
well-spoken,
way.
You're articulate. You're knowledgeable.
Take a couple.
Oh God, what do you
No,
want?
I'm
no,
saying-
I'm serious.
No, but just
I'm
saying,
serious.
take a couple clips and put them together.
I have a
60
yeah.
seconds. I'm just telling you, 60 seconds. Put it on
Do
TikTok.
you care to
and just
like
watch it?
turn this social media thing
I know
into
exactly.
something?
I have a plan for stuff, and a lot of it is
Calculated steps.
everything has to be done with something, the next step in mind. So there, if I went into TikTok and got into doing TikTok, I don't see the out in that. Like, what do you make money off that? Like, you're back in the algorithm. I would rather, okay, let me give you an example. I did YouTube, or I'm doing YouTube. I put out a YouTube video like maybe once every 2 weeks. It means more to me that 2 or 3 people have reached out and they're like, yo, the videos are all about jail, federal prisons in Canada, how it works, how... I've had 2 or 3 people reach out and been like, man, your videos helped me a lot. I'm going in a few months. What advice can you give me? So that type of stuff means more than having like some kind of crazy reach, is like actually helping an individual.
Can I push back against that? Why limit yourself to just jail conversations?
Oh, well, that's just because I need to get that out of my system. The way that I don't believe in therapy, but I really do feel like the way that you get through things, at least I get through things, is by writing them or creating some kind of content about them. After I wrote Bad Trips, I put my 20s to the side. I was 30 years old when that book got finished, and I kind of treated it like it was the past. I don't really talk about it now because I'll just point you to this or that or this or that. And there's some other stuff coming out.
Because you're very, very knowledgeable in music, right? And the Canadian hip hop scene, it's bubbling.
I'm about to jump in
it's
real
dead.
quick.
It's dead.
Since you're like
Okay, now you're gonna ruin my question. Thank you.
I'm gonna ruin it. Your top 5 artists right now. It's wrong.
Yeah, he ruined it.
That's right.
What do you mean right now? Like that I listen
not
to
right now,
actively? So I like.
What were you listening to?
So right now,
He means contemporary artists.
Sure.
but not okay. So I'll give you the top 5 artists that I listen to in Toronto. Number 1 is Northside Benji.
Please look at that camera.
Number 1 is Northside Benji.
Okay, look at that camera.
We want you on the podcast.
You will never get Northside Benji on the podcast.
Why not?
He's a ghost, bro.
He is. He lives in BC, by the way. He lives in the West Coast.
Do not say
lives-
that on
I'm
camera.
sorry. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's gonna be.
I'm such a fucking nerd. I already
You
know
need
where
to
he's
relax,
at.
Vlad.
I know where he's at. I already know where he's at. But go ahead.
Number 2 is Pangs. I cannot get
When
through
you
a
get out,
gym
we want
workout.
you on the podcast.
I need to talk to you first. Number 3 is Casper. Casper is so consistent with the
We
music
want
that
you
he's
on
been
the
putting out.
Casper's so scary. I don't even want him. Go ahead.
He's
so fucking scary.
You know what's crazy about
Yo.
Casper?
Under conditions.
He's fucking
Casper was
scary
in
as
Joyceville at the
fuck.
same time as I was. He was in jail at the same time, but he had been in jail when my whole shit played out in the media. So I get to jail and he comes up to me. I just interviewed him like before. It was like one of the last interviews I did for Vice. He comes up to me, he's like, "What the fuck are you doing here?" He's like, "What are you
And I'm
doing?"
sure he was really confused.
He was-
Yo,
so I'm
don't
like-
you work for Vice?
I'm
What
like,
the fuck
"Fam, you missed it. You missed what happened. Yada yada yada." And then one of the guys he was with, he's like, "Oh fuck, that's the guy." Blah
He's
blah
like,
blah.
yeah, that's Pablo.
Yeah, but
Casper's
for
number
the
3.
record,
Yeah.
they may call you Pablo, but realistically, you made maybe at most 40K.
No, here's the thing. I broke even because I had to pay for the Knuckleheads trip that took it after me.
Wow.
Because it was, I didn't make any money off
crazy,
this cocaine
man.
By
smuggling
Canadian
shit.
standards,
This
that's
is
Pablo.
crazy. This is
Hold on,
crazy.
No,
hold on. So
I'm
when
at
you say-
I'm at Canadian Pablo.
So when you say 20 grand, that's 20 grand Canadian, not US.
that's
not
right, not Australian dollars.
good. Okay.
Which
Just
is, by the way,
making it
on
very
par.
clear.
Australia's
so
on par
it's
with whom?
next to nothing.
Canadian dollars.
Is it really?
Yeah, it was back then.
Okay, before we get too off track, you mentioned 3 names.
Yeah.
I think there's 2 more, right?
So we have Northside Benji, Pangs,
And Casper.
and Casper. I really like Press's music because I missed so much of it because I was in jail.
Press, we want you on the
Yeah,
podcast.
yeah.
And the other thing too is like going through the jail system and hearing the lore that exists around some of these guys really makes you
It
appreciate
fucking
them
made you
more.
salivate, didn't it?
So much more. And then number 5, I have to give it up to Bully because that guy just
R.I.P.
had such a talent
R.I.P.
for doing shit. Man, like I've never heard someone put hooks together like that. If that guy just stayed on this earth a little longer, he would have been in OVO camp for sure. For
So
sure.
you don't like any rapidy rap dudes?
Not really.
Um,
I recognize Raz Fresco. Raz Fresco's a sick guy. He's a bars
Did you
rapper.
unlock the door upstairs?
Raz Fesco, want you on the podcast.
I love Raz
Fresco's sick.
Fresco. He is the epitome of
Underground hip-hop.
R.A.P.
That's
R.A.P. rap.
Okay.
Oh,
I
yeah.
thought you
He
were-
rap. That's a rap guy. He raps.
that's right.
yeah.
He will flip vinyl beats and do everything. Yeah.
I love that guy. We want him on. Rap.
Obviously,
Rap
Rich
on.
Kid. I still listen to We on some Rich Kid shit. I had him send me some shit randomly. That's a song that you can't find on streaming. So
Yeah.
I love like everything that I came up with back in the day. I still love Sean Leon. I listen to him all the time. Daniel
dope.
Caesar. I listen to him all the time. Jazz Cardi. I listen to all the time.
I was there downtown. Maybe I can't believe I haven't
We
met
might
you.
have. I might have been shit faced when we saw each other.
Probably, bro. Like I was literally walking. I was down there at the same
What do you
time.
think about Drake?
I feel like Drake is like the weather, bro. Like you can have an opinion on him. It's not going to change anything.
Yeah.
Charlie?
Charlie, what's up?
Grab a seat.
Come,
Grab a
come,
seat.
yeah,
Grab a
have a
seat.
seat.
We got beers and drinks if you'd like, and it's all in the fridge.
Hold on, Slava.
Yeah, yes, brother. Yes.
What's going on? Charlie,
Hi.
pleasure to meet everyone. Love to see how.
Over there.
Oh, like pull up the seat here.
Yeah, you can grab a seat. We got beers if you'd like, but yeah.
But that would be the top 5. Pangs, Benji, Press, Casper,
That's a
Bully.
good top 5. Although I have my criticisms, but yeah, it's a good top 5.
Well, where are you from?
I'm from Saga. I don't know if I should say that because
Okay.
I have a couple of people out there that don't like me.
I fuck with Redway really heavy. Redway,
Oh,
like,
R.I.P. my
R.I.P.
boy
Red, bro.
Redway.
Yeah.
matter of
Yeah,
fact, in
shout
the
out to
entire time
Dookie
that I've
and
been
Femi
working in the
Lawson.
industry, I've only taken money from 2 artists. Both of them one was before I started working at Vice, and the other one was after. Redway was one of them, and I really believed in him, and I think he could have been something special.
Absolutely.
Redway.
That was a
He
wild
was
weekend.
amazing.
That was such a wild weekend.
Yeah. Unfortunate.
It was a
Yeah,
wild
yeah,
weekend.
yeah.
Shout out to Party Next Door for actually paying homage at OVO Fest. A lot of people forget that he did that, but he shouted out Redway, and he didn't have to. So I really
Shout
I
out
rate him
Party
for
Next
that.
Door, Saga. Yeah. We need you. Because I am an advocate
you need
for
noisy.
Canadian hip hop culture, and we need guys like you.
You need the platform. You don't need the personalities. What you're saying when you need that, you need noisy back.
Well, that's what we're working on. This is going to be the noisy.
That's
We're
right,
working on
and
it.
that's what we should be. You should be working towards being that.
Personalities help, right?
We'll see.
But
I mean,
we are the reason why people want to come and sit down and chit chat.
That's
right?
it. Don't sell yourself short.
You gotta give yourself flowers.
no, I
as well.
get it. I
you
am
get
the
me?
personality. I'm
Yeah.
just saying.
Talk
Like,
your
No.
shit.
I'm just saying. I'm the personality, and that's why Slava is here. But I'm just saying we need a Slava as well.
Before
That's
we
a
go,
fact.
ask him his 10 top 5 or top 4 of.
Oh, who
Drugs.
is on your
Cocaine.
Mount Rushmore? I don't know
Fentanyl.
if I should just make,
MDMA
can.
and ketamine.
I'm listening to it and I'm trying not to laugh. On your Mount Rushmore of, let's say, you know what? Because we're a Canadian podcast, on Canadian hip hop. Or of
It has to be
Canadian
Canadian.
hip-hop.
It has to be Canadian.
Has to be Canadian?
It has to be
All
Canadian.
right, let's do it.
So my top 4 Canadian hip hop
Your
artists.
Mount Rushmore.
Your
of
Mount
Canadian.
Rushmore. It's an oxymoron.
Yeah. So number 1 is Belly. Number 2 is Drake. Number 3 is Cardi. Number 4 is Rich Kid.
Number 4 is
Rich Kid.
Rich Kid?
Yeah.
Party, Belly.
Damn. Gonna do it like that?
No, I'm sorry. No.
You gave him the walk
That
flow?
was so quick. That was so quick. You barely heard that.
Okay, let me do it again. My top 4 Canadian hip hop icons ever goes number 1, Belly. Number 2, Drake. Number 3, Cardi. Number 4, Rich Kid. Those guys have done more for Canadian hip hop in the last 20 years, which were the most important 20 years. I understand that a lot of guys did their thing before the year 2000, but in the last 20 years, those guys have had a hand in everything that's been either on the radio or gone viral in one way or another.
Okay. Name my 5th spot. Honorable mention. Who would get the 5th spot? See, this is where it gets tricky.
And sticky.
Just chaos because he brought the best out of Drake.
That's a great answer.
Before we go, do you see yourself becoming Canadian darling again?
Darling? I don't think I'm going to be in anything darling ever again. But also, I don't have my sights set on Canada. I just live here.
And where do you want it? Where did you?
Yeah.
I know he mentioned New York, and he also mentioned Brooklyn. Yes, yes. he
Place.
did.
I've been to
Person.
Brooklyn. I was so fucking disappointed with Brooklyn.
I don't know which part of Brooklyn you went to, baby.
No,
you might have went
to
to the
we
vice
need
part
to
of
take a
Brooklyn.
trip.
So yeah,
Not the-
probably.
yeah.
I visited my cousin in Williamsburg.
Yeah,
I was
that's
like,
a vice
See,
part.
you see what I'm saying?
Yo,
That's what I heard.
let me tell you something.
See where he said he went?
Yeah, I
Like,
was- I
you
was-
did not go to the.
No,
like,
I spent 2 weeks in Williamsburg. Okay.
and that's your problem. You shouldn't have spent that long.
And it was Christmas. It was Christmas of 2016. I was there for Christmas 2016 for 2 weeks. And let me tell you something. I saw hipsters riding bikes with snow and sandals on.
You live in Canada.
I know, but like, no.
How is that a surprise to you?
I was so perplexed. I'm like, yo, you guys are riding bikes
Yeah.
in Brooklyn
Yeah.
in the
See,
snow. I was
you
like,
see,
what is
we would
going
have been
on?
playing football in the snow, in the
Football.
streets.
Yeah, I was confused. With
What are you
Brooklyn.
saying? Brooklyn is whack.
It's
Absolutely not. We're not going to do that.
no, not today, not today. Yo, thank you so much for coming out. We want you to come out. Yeah. For other shit, we won't be a correspondent, whatever. We're a low budget vice. We'll pay you in pesos.
Next noise.
We'll pay you in pesos,
Listen,
whatever.
Why is this bankrupt? So they're the
Yeah, we're gonna pay you
lowest-
pesos.
not
We're
about
gonna pay you
that.
pesos.
Now,
Yes,
Nersey
Listen.
is not bankrupt. Nersey.com. That's
Yes,
the
plug
podcast.
it.
sir.
And that's
Okay.
that's
And
the
what are you
vibe.
guys about before we go out?
We're technically a music podcast, but we talk about current events. It's like a good show. It's me, Trey Smith, Drew Millard. It comes out every week. It's free for now.
What day?
We don't know.
You don't know?
Whenever.
It's fun.
Having
It's
fun
fun.
with it.
Whenever we got the time.
I heard the episode was pretty cool.
Thank
I'm
you.
gonna check it out.
Yeah, we're trying to get on the clips game like you, but we're not recording videos, so we're just putting out videos
You guys are
of like,
based
the
around
video games.
Because you guys are based around the world. Right? You guys are
That's
Please.
right. It's Philadelphia, Brooklyn, and Toronto.
Please consider TikTok. I'm telling you, I'm not wrong.
I don't even speak
consider it.
Chinese, bro.
Ooh.
Neither do I, buddy.
Oh, I thought you were going to start with
Yo,
the
Canada's convince them to come to Canada.
Chung
We'll
Mong
record it
Mong.
here.
How
Hey,
about this? How
we'll
about
talk.
this?
Yeah, we'll talk.
You get on TikTok and I'll get on Grindr.
Done.
Yeah!
Face down.
That's the way I like the fuck.
Yeah.
Yo, we out. This is
Bonfire.
yo. This is
No,
Steady
don't
Mobbin.
fire. Unwanted.
Steady Mobbin episode
Grinder.
episode 5. We out.